So in this video, we are going to look at a practical example on how to integrate AWS API gateway with AWS Lambda. So basically what we are going to do is invoke a URL, and that URL will call our Lambda function and return an output. So for that, we are just going to use our hello world Lambda function. So if we go to our hello world Lambda function, I've made a small modification to our code. In the callback, I have written or appended event name. So basically, if I pass an event name as Arpan, it will return hello Arpan. So we are going to invoke this Lambda function through a URL, and in the URL parameter, we are going to pass a name of the person. It will invoke the Lambda, and it will return hello Arpan back to the URL, and you can display it on the browser. So that's the whole plan, and for that, let's get started with AWS API Gateway. So in the AWS services, you can look up API Gateway. So when you are using it for the first time, you may see a screen like this, and then click on Get Started. Just click OK over here, and over here we are going to create a new API, and the name would be, you can give whatever name you want. So it will be hello world, and description would be hello world API, and I'm going to click on create API. So it basically has created an API for us. So now let's add a resource first. So I'm going to click on actions and then click on create resource, and the resource name would be hello, and the path is /hello. And resource name, basically you can have a product or employee and anything you want depending on your functionality, of course. So over here we just have resource name as hello, and then I'm going to click on create resource. So this has created a resource hello. So now let's add a get method. So over here I'm going to click on create method. From the drop down I'm going to select get, and then click on this checkbox. So now we have created a get method. So now we are going to invoke the Lambda function using the get method. So in the integration type, I'm going to select Lambda function. In the region, I'm going to select UST1. You can select the region that you had your hello world Lambda function created in. So and over here, I'm going to just type hello and then select hello world. So your Lambda function, you can select it over here. So basically, we are going to invoke this Lambda function when we call the get method, and then we are going to click on save. So here it's saying that you are giving API gateway permission to invoke a Lambda function, and it's okay. I'm going to click on OK. So now our API gateway will have permission to invoke Lambda function, and the screen will appear. So it's basically a flowchart over here. First of all, it's the client. So basically we are going to our browser, and then we are going to invoke a URL. It will go to this box over here. Then it will go to this box, then it will invoke our Lambda hello world function, and it will return and go to this box, and then to this box, and back to the client. So the first box is the method request, and which is get, and over here we are going to add the name parameter. So we are going to pass name parameter to our Lambda function. Integration request. So in this box, what happens is, like, we are going to pass a name parameter from the URL to the Lambda, but our Lambda basically likes JSON, right? We have created our function that requires JSON, like event.name, and it's basically we're passing name as JSON into our Lambda function. For testing, we have seen that. So in the integration request, we are going to convert our request to a JSON format. We'll pass on the request to Lambda hello world. It will return a response back, and our response is, like we have seen in our callback, it's hello and name of the person, so hello world. So basically then the response, then the control will go to method response, and basically we are expecting 200 as okay status, and if we don't find, then we might receive 404 or other status messages. So let's add our method request. So I'm going to click on method request, and in the URL query sync parameters, I'm going to click on add query string and then click on name and type in name over here, and then click on this checkbox. So basically we are going to pass a name parameter, and if everything looks okay, I'm going to go back to method execution over here, and over here I'm going to click on integration request, and I'm going to click on body mapping template. So here we are going to convert our name parameter to JSON. Here let's click on when there are no templates defined, and then click on add mapping template. Content type would be application JSON over here. Click on this checkbox again, scroll down, and then over here we are going to do the mapping. So we are going to add this piece of code over here. So basically the input parameter name, it will be printed over here. So basically we are going to convert it into a JSON of key value of name and the actual input of the user, like Arpan or John or Jack. So it will be name Arpan, and it's in double quotes. So that's what it will do. So it will transform our input parameter of name, and then it will convert our actual input into a JSON. I'm going to click on save over here. I know it might be a little bit of tricky to understand because there are multiple steps over here, so you can just pause and watch this section again, or try it yourself a few times. So once you have clicked on save, go back to method execution. I think we have our request or input ready to invoke our Lambda function. So now let's just click on the test icon over here. So here the name query string, I'm going to type Arpan. So basically we are going to invoke the Lambda function with a URL with question mark name equal to Arpan, and then click on test, and we got the response back, hello Arpan. If I change it to Jack over here, click on test, and you'll see hello Jack. And in the logs you can see there is a successful execution completed. Now the problem over here is the response is a string, but let's say these days we want like JSON response. So if you are developing a product API and you are returning an array of your products or a JSON product list, so let's see how to convert our response to JSON. So I'm going to click on method execution, and in the integration response, here is where we are going to convert our response to JSON. Expand body mapping template, click on application JSON, and over here what we are going to do is type the following thing. So this is going to transform our response into JSON, and the JSON structure would be hello, and the response we got back from our Lambda. So the dollar in the $input.path represents the overall response received by the API gateway, which is put in as the value of the hello key. So once we have that, click on save. So now we'll go back to method execution, and then we are going to test it again. So we'll click on test, name as Arpan. This is the name parameter, and I'm going to click on test over here. So this is what our JSON response looks like, hello, and then hello Arpan. Basically the input hello Arpan is what we received from our Lambda function, and this is our JSON key. So this is how the entire flow looks like. Now in the next section, we are going to see how we can test it using an actual URL and how to deploy our API.